really excited. So with that, we have UTA versus LGN today for WCL, guys. So it's a little late to the stream. Both teams are a little bit new to this, but LGN's rocking an E4, 2 bat chats, 2 IS7s, and a 50B, and UTA is rocking an E4, a grill, 3 bat chats, an IS4, and an IS7. So both teams having pretty standard lineups. The IS4 is a little bit rare. I haven't really seen that used too much. And LGN's rocking a looks pretty standard of a lineup. Looks like the bat chats are going to go aggressive for the bull push early on, and they're going to go for lights and maybe an early clip. It doesn't look like UTA is going to give up the bull, and I'm curious how they'll react to this. Losing the bull early on allows for people to get shot if they try to cross, so like the E4 and IS7 might have some difficulties. It looks like one shot here is going to try to push to the opposite side. And I'm not sure if neither bat chat's going to be reloaded just in time. Looks like Kaiser's going to look for shots. It's not going to connect, and neither does Default. So now LGN has 3 tanks rocking the cap. They have an IS7 holding the angle, and they have a bat chat in the climb over here. So they're playing the cap side, and UTA is going to have to try to get their forces across. And the E4 and IS7 are in a really interesting position because they have the option to get shot as they cross. Luckily, they did not get punished for UTA's sake, and they're able to cross. Kaiser Bihar is taking shots from Default. However, trades are made, and Default takes more damage than he's able to give. So right now, LGN has control of the bull area, and in order for UTA to really reset cap, they have to push. So it looks like Zayat or the Gorilla is trying to get shots into them, but without getting lit, it's going to be really difficult. The I7's pretty hold down, so the Gorilla's going to have to shoot HE to reset, and I actually don't think he has an angle on him. So that could be, yeah, he does not. So it's going to be rather difficult. The Gorilla does have an angle on this, but they're not lit, so he'd have to blind fire with an HE shell. Looks like the IS4 B tank is pushing up to get lights. I mean, he's an IS4, so it's actually pretty good. He's going against tanks that, you know, the bat chat shooting APCR are going to have maybe a tough time going through Troll side armor, so it might be interesting. And it looks like one shot might put pressure on Kaiser. And so it looks like he wanted to push him, but it's really difficult because D Boom's in a spot to counter if they push. And right now, Kaiser is now getting punished. 2 batches are being focused. The IS4 is able to light them. So if the 50Bs want to go around, the Gorilla has shots. This E4 is pushing up. That could result in a pretty interesting play. If he gets crossfire with the Gorilla, he could get punished for this push. It doesn't look like he's going to as of now. And it looks like over here, Zayats is down and one shot is pushing in. Kaiser's on reload, as is D Boom. And it looks like he's going to go just try to get in this rock. I mean, he should try to run. He gets set on fire and he dies as he falls. That's unfortunate. And UTA loses another bat chat. And right now these the IS7, E4, and IS4 have to really brawl against autoloaders, which is difficult because any kind of push you make is punishable, but on reloads you have to make plays. And this IS7's really hold down, so it's difficult. And I'm wondering if this Gorilla is able to put in a lot of work, because as of now it looks like maybe he hasn't. As I say that, he hits the E4 for 740. And LGN now has Maverick in the I7 repositioning, and LGN's just wrapping around their bat chats and is going to clip them in the behind. So both bat chats are going for the same tank. Their focus fire is pretty good right now, and they are able to take out the IS7, and now the IS4 is taken down. So LGN takes the first game in the series. So a nice way to start for sure. I mean, I shouldn't say that yet, but it's, you know, this Gorilla, I'm not actually sure how much damage he did. I am curious. He's able to do 2,200 damage, so I mean, he did his work, I suppose. Maybe just the combination of the way trades are made that it kind of cost him the game. Looks he's going to get in this divot and try to maybe take out another tank with him. Kaiser's still reloading, so this Gorilla could potentially get the kill. I don't think he wants to peek, though. He's going to fall off the cliff, and he's going to kill himself. So that is unfortunate. It's never fun to watch, you know, a team do that. You know, it is what it is. So UTA goes down, and LGN thus succeeds the first game of the series. So just to recap what happened there, first look at the end game. So Kaiser did 3,500 damage in the bat shot, and D-Boom did 2,600. So they did a really good job holding off the right side of the bowl from getting pushed around. And as you can see, the Gorilla and the IS-7 are really the only tanks that UTA was able to put damage on the put high damage on the board with. So UTA in the future might want to make better trades. Maybe drop a bat shot for something with more armor, or like a 50B. And just to recap what happened, LGN pushed their bat shots and 50Bs into the bowl with an IS-7 and had one IS-7 hold the angle, and a bat shot get into the climb on right next to the bowl. And the reason for that is it really punishes UTA for making any plays, and that Grillo is in a position to get resets. However, it proves rather difficult to do that at times because everything has to be lit. So, it's not all smooth sailing. Not everything is nice all the time. So, I think UTA's mistake is when they picked a lot of slow tanks and they tried to go up the C line, which if you have fast tanks that take the bowl, you can get easily punished for it. And they didn't, but it was a huge gamble play. And then any kind of pushes they want to make down the down the E line, they can get kind of punished for it. Luckily, UTA had the grill up in A5 to kind of counter peaks, but the IS-7 was hold down and did not have an angle on the grill, so that IS-7 was able to hold off and bounce a lot of shots. Looks like LGN is taking out an STRV, and LUTA is still going with the IS-4. I'm curious as to why they like the IS-4. It's a good tank, just not really in meta, so I'm curious as to that. They're taking an E4 again, and I'm actually curious as to where LGN's going to put the STRV. I'm thinking they're either going to put it in B1 or in A5 in one of the climbs, and what that will allow them to do is it will allow them to secure the A5 secures the mid, and it punishes bull play if they overextend, whereas B1 can really help with resets because you can shoot E3 from B1, so it's a really nice position that's advantageous for that North team to use. So we're just waiting for both teams to pick tanks here. I'm sure both teams are feeling the might of nervousness. It's their first game of the season, and WCL has been on an extended break for a while. It's been just about a year actually. So both teams are maybe wiping the dust off. Trying to get back into the swing of things. I know for me personally, I would be very nervous if this was my first game back in WCL. It's always like the big tournament on here, so it's definitely a lot of fun, but a lot of nerve-wracking things to go through, for sure. I would also like to thank that bloke, Zeus, and Volgark for the follow. I appreciate it, guys. So just for the duration of the stream, I'm not going to be thanking follows or anything like that during the game. And the reason for that is I don't want to congest the game with, that kind of talk. So that will wait until the game's over. But I do really appreciate your support. It means a lot to me, and I really appreciate it. Also, there will be a giveaway at the end of this game. And there will be a giveaway. I will be streaming KMD versus NB at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So there will be a giveaway at the beginning of that game, and I'm looking forward to streaming all the games today. That should be a fun one. So definitely looking forward to it. And the codes are pretty nice. You get some premium time, some repair kits, large first aid kit, some silver. So they are very nice. So UTA is rocking, as of now, the E4, the 2 batch chats, 2 IS7s and IS4, and LGN is bringing 2 batch chats, 3 IS7s, 50B and STRV, and UTA just picked another IS7. So they're going a lot of Russian heavies this time, and I think what they're going to try to do is try to just brawl them out. They have, I mean, the problem right now is that STRV, if he gets above the IS7s, it's going to be really difficult for the IS7s to put damage up. Because if he's above the I-7 in any way, the armor or the angles of the I-7 make it difficult to play. So you have to be very cautious when you're peeking like E3 or you're peeking over a ridge against an STRV. So I'm curious if UTA will put any presence in try to put any presence in the bull. I mean, LGN does have more mobility. They have the 50B and 2 batch chats comparatively to just 2 batch chats. And it looks like both teams are actually not going to play the bull. Actually, I lied. It looks like Anti and One Shot are going to go bull area, and maybe Zayats as well. It looks like, they might be able to win it, and they are going to be able to take this game, or take the bull at least, because all LGN has is one IS7, so they could just push through and have the overmatch. Zayats does not get lit, just a little bit off for the timing, and he's able to get into the bull completely unpunished. However, D-Boom actually didn't get to the hill in time to beat default, and it looks like 89-3 is going to be able to get into that little climb right here and just kind of spot out for cap. He did put a little bit of cap on, so they know that they have someone in the cap. Rising did get lit crossing, which means that LGN now has the intel that, okay, well, their IS7, at least one of them isn't up here. It looks like he gets the snapshot on the 50B as he's crossing. Very unfortunate. And the 50B is now tucked into this corner, similarly to how UTA was last game. However, the setups are a little bit different. The STRV did get into the B1 climb, so it's going to be really punishing for One Shot NT to push. And actually, it's a good counter to Zayats. He can't peek a little bit too high, otherwise he'll get shot. So it's not good, obviously. Default and D-Boom look like they're trying to fight for the hill a little bit. Default does have less hit points, so if D-Boom wanted to go in and just, he could do it, it would be very punishing. But if Default wants to take the hill, he can't. He just doesn't have the hit points for it. However, in the middle here, we have the IS-4 and 2 IS-7s who are fighting a 1 IS-7 who, depending on where he is, could be pretty hold down, and they don't have really anything else to worry about in front of them. Everything else is to the left. Shots are traded. Unfortunately for LGN, he took the damage, and no damage was given to UTA. The IS-7 Kaiser BR is looking for shots in the tank, and the IS-7 from LGN is still getting bled. It looks like D-Boom finally made the play to push Default. And D-Boom might actually die for it. He is able to take out Default, but if he dies for it, it's useless, and he goes down for it. So now no team has control of the hill, and both teams have lost a batch shot. The hit points are pretty evenly distributed as of now. LGN has a little bit less. The IS-7 and the 50Bs, both IS-7s, have taken a little bit of some damage there. So that's not really good, especially early in the game. Both teams are still healthy. And now these IS-7s in the middles are kind of extending a little bit more than they should to get shots, and they're not getting punished for it. So right now, basically UTA is getting free damage onto the IS-7 and 50B who are caught in this corner. Now, the only way that they could make UTA to make this work at this point is to maybe send someone around the lighthouse, because that batch shot's going to get behind them. So rotate the IS-7s around the lighthouse and try to, get this IS-7 in a crossfire and dig him out, and then they'll be able to, crossfire the 50Bs, and that'd be really difficult for them to get out of because the STRV won't have shots. So UTA, to win this, has to make a rotate, and for LGN, they just have to sit there and wait for them to push, and once they start pushing and get lit, it's going to be really difficult for them to make any plays. So Zayats is now lit, as is the 50B. 89-3 takes a shot, and Kaiser is taking a shot. Right now, this is really hard for them because the batch shot's going to be able to shoot Kaiser in the rear end, and he's not going to be able to get away. And he's now a one-shot. They're both stuck in this little corner. and they're not able to really dish any damage out. Right now, the IS-4 can just take the hit and kill the 50B. He does take out the Bat Shot, though, so he's realizing the 50B is now in a tough situation. He can't really get out. He trades one with the Bat Shot. He might be able to get a second one into him, but the Bat Shot backs off to save his hit points, and the IS-4 now just has to peek for the kill, and he's able to take him out. So right now, UTA has actually won the bowl, and they have presence in the middle, so it's going to be really difficult for LGN to recover from this. UTA did a really good job of trading right there with the pushes. And now the hardest thing is going to be dealing with the STRV and dealing with the IS-7 and Batshot, who have a good crossfire setup. So what UTA needs right now is to have just keep the Batshot alive and then try to eliminate tanks elsewhere so they can spot up that STRV. I'm sure they know where he is, but actually digging him out is going to be really challenging. As you can see, it looks like he's up in a bush, and he's an STRV, so he's got good camo, and you know, it's hard to hit a spot that's overmatchable at that angle. So right now Tyson does not get lit, but the I-7 is, so right now they might want to push the I-7, and they could get theoretically punished for it. Both teams are still trying to trade up here in the middle. It doesn't look like any damage has been really traded in a while. Alexander seems a little bit lower than before. It looks like Zayat's going to try to reclimb the hill, which could be advantageous. He probably won't take a hit. Popping Riven isn't looking at that cross unless he gets a lucky snap, which he doesn't. So Zayats now has to control. UTA has regained control of the hill, and he should be able to spot Tyson before Tyson's able to, you know, get behind them. Although the timing, he might not expect him to be back here, so he might get completely unlit. And all it takes is for the Batshot to just clip out one of these IS-7s, and it could really make things interesting. However, Zayat's able to clip out Rivet, and Rivet goes down. So now it is 6-3. Tyson isn't behind them, but he just doesn't have the gun to really punch an I-7 like this. The I-7 bounces off the turret of the Batshot. That's what it looked like, at least. And he might be able to get away with only taking a shot or two. He takes 2 shots. However, the Zayats from the hill might be able to start clipping into him, and he does go down. Some great fire from UTA. And now the I-7 goes in and takes out Anti. And now the IS-4 is just looking for shots and a position that the STRV can't support him. Tank sneaks one into him with a nice heat shell on the IS-7. That was nice shot. And now UTA just has the overmatch. They can just push in and, you know, wrap this up. So I'm curious if this STRV has been able to do work. He's done 3,500 damage up here, so he's definitely done his job. He's still getting more damage. He finally gets lit, though, so that's unfortunate for him. Not that it matters at this point. He's just going to be able to get shot by the Batshot because he can't really turn his angle to anywhere or get overmatched. The Batshot misses one of the shells, and it looks like he's just trying to get some more shots into UTA before the game concludes. So Maverick here is continuing to pump out damage as they progress. A valiant effort of the last stand here from Maverick. You know, he's really shown that this climb is really good, you know, for an STRV to get into. So that ties the game. Ties the score up 1-1. UTA and LGN are indeed tied now. So that is always fun. It always heightens up the senses, the nerves, when you're fighting neck and neck. So from UTA, we have actually a pretty good damage distribution for most players. Zayat's one-shot, Rousing, Alex, and Tank all doing about in the mid 2K range for the most part. And then we have Alexander, who did very well with 3,400 damage. And then from LGN, we have the STRV dealing 4,300 damage. So he really did his work up there in that position. He really punished people for pushing, and he did a very good job holding the line. Whoa, there's a lot of stuff. Also, I do notice you, Tankular. I just would like you guys to keep it nice and clean in the chat. Try not to get anything. Thank you, Vanillava, for the host. Mr. APCR, Mville, Mosality, DNLV2, Rated But Hated, thank you for the follow. And D. Miller, thank you for the $10, man. I do really appreciate it. Nah, I'm not gonna do the giveaway for that match, Tank Killer, because I want to space it evenly. So at the end of NL versus Devil, there will be a giveaway. At the beginning of KMD, it's roughly the same time frame. No worries about it. So it looks like UTA wants to remain on the left, or each team wants to remain in these spawns. So that makes things easy for me. I'm not going to complain. So both teams are 1-1. Based on how the teams played, I like to try. LGN likes to try to, by the looks of it, punish people in the crossfires. With the STRV in the second game, or with the Bat Chats in the first game. So Ghost Town might be an interesting map because the maps are perfectly symmetrical. So I'm curious as to how both teams are going to react and play to that. Also, for you guys in chat, I do read the chat. I just, it is a lot when you guys spam the chat out, so it's not easy to follow all the time. All right. So there we go. First tank picked. It is a mouse. I always hate going against mouses. It's always very troll to deal with the heat shells. I'll just shoot heat at it. And APCR can be troll. A good mouse player, and both teams are pretty skilled. They have pretty good players. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the mouse holds up. I know the mouse works very well. So I'm just interested to see how it's played, because it's a good angle holder or just a good shield to push. But if you're trying to play the slow game and you just bleed, the mouse can be a really big detriment because it's so big. So I'm really interested to see the strat they're going to pull with that. Let's say Mr. Polar Bear, Murphy Mahler, Psycho Pooch, and Vanilla Oprah, thank you for the follow. I really appreciate it. It means a lot, your support. And a Type 5 Heavy. So here we have both Super Heavies, the big Super Heavies from each nation. And I'm curious to see how this is going to go. Is the Type 5 Heavy going to shoot HE? I think that'd be fun. Interesting to see how that works. It'd be a very good counter to an IS-7. So both teams are having interesting super heavy lineups. I always like to see this. And D-Boom, my apologies, picked a Batchat. So I'm curious if he's going to try to go for one of the climbs. He's definitely going to go for early game spotting. But climbs are really important in this map, in my opinion. They can really make or break a game. Like A1 climb, A8 climb, K3, not K3, K8. K8 is actually a good climb if you can work it. It is kind of weird, though. And so UTA is bringing the E4 again, and Tyson is bringing 57 heavy. I always like to see a 57 heavy brought out. It's really good for an all-of-a-sudden push, and there's a second 57 heavy. Typically, most teams like to pick two autoloaders, two 50Bs, two 57 heavies. I don't think you'd really see this line up on any map besides maybe Proc. Two Kranwagens. Typically, in autoloaders, you like to have two, so that when one's reloading, they cover, or they can clip out a whole tank. The 257 heaviest can clip out a mouse if they pen all their shots. So, So UTA is two mouses. So that is 6,000 hit points right there that LGN has to bleed through. And realistically, the lineup UTA has, they might be able to just bully their way through a side. That's a lot of damage to soak up. And if they do it right, they could just wrap their tanks around the mouses and punish anything once 57 heavies have dropped their clips. LGN's going to try to take it slow and make the mouses punish for pushes, because, like I said, that's a lot of hit points to try to bleed through. It's going to be really hard for them. Nova, why the 50B? On console, the 50B is very It's very popular and competitive. We don't have a lot of the buffs that you guys have on PC, so thus it's a very popular tank to use for an autoloader for mobile strats. So I just saw that comment. Just thought I'd throw it out there for you. So the score is 1-1 going into Ghost Town. This is going to be, for me, I always have loved Ghost Town. Personally, you can run the same strat for both spawns. It's not really that big of an issue. So I think it's a lot more comfortable for new callers. I talked to Kaiser last night. He said he's a new caller. He's trying to gain experience. So this is a good map for him. It's a map that you don't have to, like, you know, sit there for hours trying to come up with strats, because it is symmetrical, so you can kind of work with that for both sides, and just kind of has to do with rotations and stuff. That's really how you win Ghost Town, is just out rotating or baiting your opponent. It's really difficult to, like, you can put people in the crossfires, but it's a lot harder to do. So default looks like he's going to spot up the one line early game, and it's kind of too early to tell exactly what the heavy tanks from UTA are going to do. They're still kind of clustered, obviously, but it looks like they're just going to go into the city, obviously, like they should. They don't want to really get caught out and have to face multiple angles. And D-Boom looks like he's going to spot the zero line. So a pretty traditional bad chat split from both teams. This is something you see kind of often. Both teams want to spot the side they're going to push. And this is kind of like the symmetrical play. So LGN pushing the 3 line is equivalent to or the 8 line rather, my bad, is equivalent to UTA pushing the 3 line. So it's a pretty symmetrical lineup as of now. And it looks like the I-7 is going to get hold down in this little divot right here, and the 57 heavies are going to come over to this direct general area to try to punish any people who want to push. That's a tongue twister for you. Punish any people who want to push. Mess with my mind a little bit. So both mouses are lit. This could be crucial for LGN for some early game intel. It'd be unwise for the Batchat to try to shoot. He more than likely would not pen any shots into this angle. And right now, both teams are setting up with a pretty passive lineup. They're just trying to figure out what's going on, what both teams are thinking, and they're just trying to make plays based off of it. So I'm curious as to the IS-4 in this position. So an IS-7 in this position would be virtually impenetrable, whereas if you look at it from this angle, I mean, it's going to be difficult to hit, but you can pen a hold down IS-4. For those of you who don't know, it has a turret strip on the top of the turret, which is overmatchable by pretty much everything in this game. So it could be really difficult. If that Type 5 heavy is shooting AP, he's pretty much guaranteed to pen the top of the turret if he hits it, which could be very bad. So both teams right now are trying to play it slow. I think the weight of the 1-1 is getting onto them. You know, I think they're like, well, we don't want to make any mistakes. We don't want to mess up. We want to make sure we play our best. We want to make sure that we make them play on our terms. And if both teams are thinking like that, it's actually really difficult to push them out. Because if they're all holding angles and waiting for you to push, and both teams are doing that, the first team who pushes might bleed. So right now, what both teams need to do is just try to get their bad shots to spot. And it looks like there might be a little bad shot spotting up in the 1-2 or the AB line. So the bad shot gets lit. He cuts back into the town though before D-Boom can get any shots into him. He was lit. So now they kind of know UTA might have the intel on what they're doing. And LGN really hasn't spotted much in a while, so they don't know where their tanks are at this present moment. So it could be rather punishing for them to make plays when they don't know where people are. As you can see, this Maverick and his Type 5 was just kind of holding this angle, waiting for someone to push, to shoot, and just back up. It's kind of a smart play. I wouldn't really want to peek an angle in a Type 5, and the reason for that is you can't really safely peek an angle in a Type 5. It's really difficult to peek around a corner in one. So both teams are just all holding up, lining up in their angles, and you know they are kind of hesitant to make any plays. Although they have 6 minutes and 30 seconds to work with to try to make plays, try to cap out. Well, I mean, it's kind of impossible to do, I suppose, on Ghost Town. It's really difficult when the games are pretty close. So it looks like Kaiser, if he peeks up, he might be able to actually get shots onto Tank, or at least light him for intel. And the 57 Heavy, if he peeks up just a little bit more, Kaiser will be able to have a crossfire on him. So right now, as long as Kaiser remains unspotted, he's actually in a very strong position to counter this if they start to push, which is really important. Looks like Default is going for more eyes onto what LGN is doing, and it looks like D-Boom is trying to do a similar thing over here. However, it's rather difficult because nothing's really out in the open. D-Boom's rotating back up the 9 line, and we have Default who's rotating back around the 2-3 line to the B line. So, alright, strides are being made. No shot connects quite yet, at least right here. Both teams fire, they miss their volleys. So that's not, that's always never good. It kind of adds to the frustration when you're trying really hard and you're missing shots and stuff like that. It definitely adds to the stress factor. So it looks like Kaiser was able to put a shot into Tank while I was discussing what's happening over there. They're both trying to trade. However, it can be rather interesting. Maverick might push up and be able to counter that IS-4 next time he goes for a shot. The only problem with that is, the bat shot really won't have an angle on him unless, he's able to really finesse one over here. So Zayats and his mouse has actually taken some bleed from the 57 Heavies. It looks like Alexander there might be able to just come around. He misses the shot, and looks like one shot's going to go for the shot, but he gets shot in the side by Kaiser. And it looks like Kaiser's not going to get punished. One shot's going to push in the 57 Heavies, or, well, not really push into them, but hold an angle. It looks like D-Boom might try to go for a rotate, but he gets lit by the T-57 Heavy holding the road. He takes a shot. And right now, 157 Heavy from LGN is about less than half health, so it's going to be rather hard for them to push. Right now, Zayats is in a crossfire. The TIE 5 Heavy hits him for 720. That's never fun to get hit by one of those. He was not lit the whole game, and now he's, paying for it. So right now, UTA's down a lot of hit points. The mouse is a one-shot, or one of them is. So that's rather interesting. Kaiser misses the kill shot on the mouse, and it looks like UTA might want to... The 57 Heavy right here might want to just kind of remain unspotted and try to push around. Kaiser takes a nice hit for 800, then 500. He's lost pretty much more than half of his hit points in 2 shots. The mouse misses the other shot, and Kaiser misses the kill shot again. Right now, Kaiser just needs to back up and try to avoid getting shot, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. The 57 Heavies are going to try to rotate back around to try to support him. The E4 bounces, the mouse does not, and the 57 Heavy should try to focus the E4 out first, because they can take him out. It looks like that's what they're going to do. The E4 is just getting clipped out. The mouse drives in front of him to share his hit points. A very nice play done by Alex. And the I-7 is now one shot. The T-57 is now one shot. And right now they're just clipping into shooting the mouse. The 57 Heavy from Anti has finally come behind him. He's able to drop his clip. He takes out the 57 Heavy and the I-7, but he gets taken out. And now the Tyson the dog has now been isolated. He's going to be able to get surrounded, and he's going to go down without being able to take out a tank. So right now UTA has a U4, a mouse that are a one-shot, a Batjet who's half health, and an IS-4 who's roughly a one-shot. Right now, LGN is trying to get them pushing the crossfires, but Tap and Tin just got shot for overextending a little bit. And it looks like, never mind, it looks like maybe they were going to try to cap and just be safe, but does choose like that not do that. Looks like D and Boom might try to go around the flank, but the E5's taken out a little too late. And the IS-4 is going to be able to get away. Ooh, nope. Just as he gets around the corner, D-Boom takes him out. And the IS-7 is able to shoot him. So Pop and Rivet here, if he can take out the mouse, they have actually pretty equal hit points. So if they can just take out the one-shots, this could actually still be a really close game. Pop and Rivet should load HE. I don't know if he did or not, but he's able to take him out. Right now that they get the E4 out, he's a one-shot. Tap and Tim's afraid. However, now it is a 2v4. Both tanks are still one-shots, but it looks like Tap and Tim has the I-7 pushing behind him. It's going to be difficult. The I-7 could just push into him. I don't know if he knows that or not. Maybe he's just trying to be safe. But Pop and Rivet's looking for the kill shots, and the bat shot's just going to yellow him. It looks like he... I thought maybe he'd ignore the bat shot and try to just wait. He turns his turret. Now the E4 is going to come up behind him, and he's going to be able to get shot. If this IS-7 can kill the Batchat, he might be able to get away. I don't think so. I think the E4 is going to be able to get him as he rounds the corner. He does not, but the Batchat is going to be able to get away. And right now, Pop and Rivet's going to get shot by the E4 most likely. Nope. The IS-7 is able to take him out. He overextends a little bit. Now the E4 is pushing the IS-7 into UTA. So that game was interesting because LGN could have easily won that if they just focused a little bit better. As you can see, UTA has 3 one-shots and a tank that's half health, so it would have been really easy for them to just come back right there. So as you can see, the Mouse dealing 3,500 damage and the E4 dealing just about 4k and the IS-7 dealing 3,000 damage. So they were able to put out, those 3 tanks right there really did work. They did their jobs. And I'm just curious how the Mouse 1,600 and 1,600, they both blocked, a few shots from an IS-7. And over here we have the E4 and the 57 heavy and I7 dealing a pretty even spread. These two 57 heavies, if this 57 heavy they kind of rolled in a pack, if he was able to pen more, I think that would have been a tiebreaker. That would have changed the game. So there we have it. UTA is up 2. Just sorry about that. So UTA is up 2-1 LGN. Just waiting for the spawns to flip. There we go. And let me check chat everything really quick. Check everything. Sorry about that, guys. It's a little, TVDL, thank you for the follow. Segmented Did, thank you for the $5. Halogen, thank you for the bit. Tanks, thank you for the subscribe. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the 2 months in a row. Ninja, thank you for the follow. Denaxis, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it, guys. Your support means a lot. So both teams really wanted to play passive right there, and I think that was their biggest. I think that was both teams' biggest issue. So as we saw, both teams played really slow, and then when a team just exploded through one side, and I don't think LGN was really ready for that. If they focused a little bit better, I think it would have been a lot nicer. For instance, that E4, if they just so when the Mouse drove in front of the E4, if the 57 heavy overextended to try to get shots, he would have most likely been able to kill the E4, which would have been a tiebreaker because that E4 is able to deal out a lot of damage. And E4 is always a tank that if you can, you want to take it out of the fight as quick as possible. It's a 850 alpha, 375 APCR, I believe. It's something you don't want to mess with. If you can kill it, you want to kill it. If it means taking 500 damage to take out an E4, it's worth it. In most circumstances, taking out low hit point tanks in a 7v7 is crucial. Because as the age-old saying goes, a 1 hit point tank still does full damage. As old of a saying as it is, it never loses its value. So will this be the final game, or will the teams be tied 2-2 after this? Also, Tank Killer, I did see your chat about if you're supposed to wait for me. No, you are not supposed to wait for me unless both teams mutually agree to wait. Otherwise, you don't. Make sure you just say that in the chat, just because there's a delay. Sorry for the typing, guys. It's just, So here we go. The second match in Ghost Town, UTA is up 2-1 LGN. So this game definitely has LGN on their nerves. This game really is important. It means a lot if they can able to take this out or not. So LGN is rocking 2 Batchats, 3 i7, 2 57 heavies, and UTA is rocking an E4, a Batchat, an IS4, an i7, 57 heavy, and 2 mouses. So it looks like UTA is rocking the same lineup as before, and it looks like LGN has actually changed their lineup since last game. So I'm thinking UTA is going to do a similar strat. They have the same lineup, and since the maps are symmetrical, I think they're going to do the same thing. I think Default is going to spot down the 0 line, which looks like he's already doing. It looks like actually one Batchat from LGN is going to go north, and one is going to go east. So that's actually going to be crucial. It's going to be able to give LGN a lot of info early on. The biggest problem is the 2 Batchats have no armor and low hit points. So in a brawl map like this, well, at least the lineup that UTA has, it's going to be hard to deal damage if they're all in the city, because the Batchat is going to have to flank, and if he gets isolated, then he's going to get taken out. So the Batchat is going to be really, you know, it's a blessing and a curse on a map like this rather than a map like Proc, you know, where mobility can really mean a lot. But on this map, mobility means only so much when you have no armor. So you have Maverick and Kaiser moving up to this little ramp here. Pretty similar to what they did last game, except now LGN has 2 i7s on the ramp comparatively to 1, and Pop and Rivet's going up to the middle ramp and just trying to hold an angle, try to punish anyone who gets a little bit too peaky. And the 57 heavies might rotate around. However, I'm not sure if Zayats has been spotted yet, but that could be really bad for the 57 heavies if they don't recognize the push and they commit. Looks like D-Boom's popping a reload, and the Batchats are going to regroup. Zayats finally does get lit. Now their Batchat gets lit for that, so that's nice. So now LGN has the information that, okay, well, the mouse is over here, so maybe we might want to be a little bit more careful. He's more than likely not alone. So that means that the 57 heavy, he finally gets lit, and the Batchat gets into the climb. So I'm actually curious as to if he's going to be able to get all the way into the climb. So I'm really happy to see the climb be used. It's always a nice climb to see. So right now both teams are playing really slow. Pretty much no damage has been done. Default took a shot. But other than that, the damage is pretty even. So I'm curious if the Batchat in K3 is going to try to get shots into Default if he can. I mean, right now, LGN is just trying to play the bait game, because if the T-57 heavies get pushed, the I-7 should have a crossfire. And if the I-7s get pushed, then the 57 heavies will have a crossfire. So the trick is, if they want to push forward, is pushing the same flank at the same time so that the crossfire is timed perfectly, so that the crossfire is mistimed and they are unable to get it. So both teams are very nervous right now. As you can see, 6:30 and only one shot has connected, and both teams are really nervous to push. It looks like finally the Mouse 57 Heavy have pushed up and kind of pushed the T-57 Heavies back. However, between D-Boom and the 57 Heavies, any kind of push can be really, really bad. So once that Mouse gets about halfway through, if he gets lit, you know, it could be trouble. Looks like Zayas was peeking to try to go for intel. It looks like the 57 heavies are going to peek. However, it could be a bad time. They both get lit, and the mouse is going to be able to turn to them. A little bit of a mistiming there. Looks like the Batchat in the climb was trying to take out Alex, and Alex is going to back off so that he doesn't get farmed. So the mouse, only the Alexander took shots right there. Nothing else was punished, and you know. So it looks like the I7s are shooting HE. This mouse will, at least Kaiser was. He looks like he just reloaded back to an APCR shell. You saw that start to go up and then drop back down. And And now it looks like both IS-7s are going to try to focus on a mouse. Unfortunately, that's a lot of hit points to just push through. And LGN does not have a crossfire really well set out. Pop and Rivet's going to have to... He can't really overextend to shoot the mouses. So if the mouse want to come... Looks like Anti is getting shot by both 57 heavies, but they aren't able to really connect most of their shots. And that's not good. Alexander's good shots again. They're starting to bleed hit points right now, and that's never what you want to do. They're bleeding a lot. So... You know, bleeding is never good. The E4 whiffs his shot into the ground, it looks like, and Alexander is able to shoot them. Right now, the IS-7s need to make every shot count. They need to try to bleed and focus out a tank so that they have one less thing to deal with. Looks like the mouse thinks that these guys are still reloading, and they're going to push into 257 heavies, which is actually really, really risky because now they're both reloaded and they can just heat spam this guy. They just have to make sure every shot counts. So I wonder if they're able to clip him out. He tracks him again, and it looks like they're just missing a lot of shots. And the mouse gets away unharmed. 57 Heavy is going to YOLO on the corner, and then looks like the best shot's going to be able to clip him out and take him out. So LGN's able to secure a kill on the T57 Heavy. That's really important. And the IS-7 are starting to get pushed, and looks like UTA is going to come in through the crossfire from the north, the IS-7 and IS-4. So right now this is rather interesting. Both sides are kind of isolated a little bit. However, no team has like the clear, distinct overmatch at this point. Pop and Rivit's a one-shot, and you know, the 57 Heavies might have a little bit of difficulty. 89-3 is a one-shot. If Run Shot can take him out, it's ironic. That could be a game changer. Default YOLO around the corner. Looks like he might get taken out. He does get taken out. Right now, UTA needs to take out low hit point tanks if they want to win this. The E4 needs to take out the 57 Heavy right now if he wants to get this kill. Looks like the E4 is going to be able to take him out more than likely. Looks like he's tracked, and he's going to go down. So right now, UTA is still trying to finish up the side. They just need to take out the tanks. Kaiser is still pretty healthy. The problem right now is that they're kind of isolated. They're going to be able to get surrounded now. So though D-Boom just drops a reload, so he's kind of out of the fight. So if UTA can wrap this up in 30 seconds and try to take out low hit point tanks, they can win this. What they need to do is get the 57 Heavy up before he can deal a lot of damage. So the mouse is trying to push into him. The IS-4 goes down. The T-57 Heavy goes down. So right now, if it looks like the mouse is going to get clipped by the 57 Heavy, it looks like the IS-7 is going to try to get the other IS-7 out of the fight while he can. Looks like Rousing Mean is going to go for the... Well, looks like he's kind of not sure what to go for. And Kaiser, he low rolls. He's going to go be a one-shot. So the bad shot accidentally rams. It does a lot of damage to himself. 57 Heavy is about reloaded. So that ties the game up. 2-2. So this is always interesting for both teams. When the games tie, you know, back and forth. LGN took the first one, UTA took the next two, and now the score is tied. So that's always nerve-wracking when you have to deal with that. So, holy crap, D-Boom did 6,100 damage in the bat shot. He was able to put out a lot of work. He was able to basically secure flanks. He did a very good job. Shout out to D-Boom. He played fantastically. And we have Alexander in the mouse dealing 4,000 damage. So he was able to do a lot of work in the mouse. And he even, you know, he blocked 1,300, and the other mouse blocked 2,500 just about. So the mouses did their job of sponging. I just think that the DPM was kind of an issue. So, yeah. That kind of proved to be interesting. Yes, I noticed I was missing the grid piece once I started streaming. I'll have to fix that for next weekend. All the overlays are already made. The timer is covering. Yeah, that's just the stream overlay. That's how it's how it's always been. You know, it is what it is. So both teams are 2-2 now. There we go. All right. So I think both teams are just checking. Queen 1057, thank you for the follow, and El Patudo, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it, guys. It really means a lot. So it looks like the spawns are going to be the same. So that's always nice, you know, to work with. Oh, so you guys in the chat are always so toxic. God. All right. So both teams are pretty nervous right now. They're picking slowly. I'm sure that they don't want to make any mistakes as of right now. You know, I don't blame them. You know, it's never fun to do that. So LGN's rocking 3 IS7s, a 57 heavy, and a bat shot. UTA is rocking a mouse, IS7, IS4, bat shot, and an E4. And tanks are still obviously being selected. So with that being said, you know, just gonna chillax for a minute. This match has gone on a little bit, you know, longer. It's a little bit of a long match. Very nice match to watch, though. Very close. That's always nice to see teams that are like that. I certainly love it. I'm sure everyone else loves it. So after this, I'll be hopping into NL versus Devil. So that should be a fun match as well. And then stick around for KMD versus NB at 3:30 Eastern time. So we're just waiting for LGN for the last pick. And I'm sure they're feeling the pressure. You know, it is very nerve-wracking. Dwarf on Drugs, thank you for the subscription. And Schwalix, thank you for the follow, man. Oh, that's pretty cool. So with the multi-Twitch, does it allow you to, like, watch all 3 games at the same time? That'd be kind of like overload, though, trying to keep up with 3 strats at the same time. At least for me. I'm just answering a question. Let me mute my mic for a second. Okay. Looks like the player from not 89.3 is having technical difficulty. I'm just going to inform Zayats of that. Actually, I'll message him on Discord. S8E. It's a pretty slow part of the game. Unfortunately, there is a technical difficulty with T30's controller. Whew. It looks like both teams have agreed to let it play out for now. You know. So I'm just curious. Jean-Claude One Shot, he's done a fantastic job in that E4, and you know the two bad shots. Both teams have played very well. Individual player skills have really shown and shine. We've had D Boom and Maverick pulling massive damage games, and really picking up slack elsewhere. And we also have One Shot and Alexander and Zayats who have done a very good job as well from both teams. So both teams are fighting neck and neck right now, and we're just waiting on the technical issue to wrap this up. Sorry about that. There's just a lot of questions right now. All right. Oof. Ugh. Ugh. I had to inform the teams that we cannot sit here all day and wait for the last guy to come. There has to be a point where they have to play without him. You know, we can't sit here for 25 minutes waiting for him to come back. You know, unless UTA is fine with that for some reason. But yeah, dude, he did some work. Just trying to talk to Kaiser that they need to figure something out because there's not 10 hours in a day to use for this, you know. I didn't even realize. That way no one else can join and mess things up. Alright. You guys spamming the... Oh my god. Okay. Just in front of them on Discord as well. Alright, so unfortunately, LGN has to play a man down. I told them that, technically speaking, they can't do that. UTA said we agreed to wait a few minutes, not 10 to 15. So, they started it. It's always a shame when that happens. I think LGN, the two bat chats in this kind of lineup is going to make it really difficult for them to play to this, because they don't really have the means necessary to do it, They're a tank down and they have to bleed through a lot of hit points. So realistically, like in the brawl, it's 3 IS-7s and a 57 heavy against 2 mouses, an IS-7, an IS-4, and an E4. So it's going to be really hard to overcome. Maybe just inform chat. Normally I would never want to do that, but just to inform that there was technical issues. Looks like the bat chats here might get into a little bit of a brawl. I think this could be interesting. It looks like LGN might be able to punish their bat chats. Anti, if he doesn't get into cover soon, he might find that getting shot in the behind is not fun, and you might want to get into the city cover really quick. So both bat chats were able to get away unscathed. I thought that maybe they'd be able to do it. Looks like the I7s are actually going to go for a really aggressive play and just try to catch them off guard. They've played pretty passive for most of this. However, this bat chat might just light every single one of them right there. And that timing, he did not get any of them. And so the IS-4 does not know that they're there. So right now, if the I7's wrapped around in this guy, it could be really difficult. Kaiser does get lit. However, not all the other two IS-7s and 57 heavy are still unspotted. So all it takes is for default to light the other side and see that they're not over here to understand that they're on this side, and they collapse onto them. So Anti is getting shot. And more shots are being traded. However, nothing is connecting. Right now, UTA should just realize that they have an overmatch and they can make plays. It's a 7v6. They pretty much can just push and almost win it every time. Poppin' Rivet's getting. He just took some shots there. He might have overangled a little bit. And it looks like UTA is getting a little bit more aggressive. The Mouses are starting to push it up a little bit more. Looks like Zayats is going to just give Rivet the surprise and be able to get a shot into him right there. So after this, we'll be hopping into the East server. So it looks like UTA is just preparing for the push, then they're isolated. So these I-7s are coming behind, but it doesn't matter because they've been isolated. So these guys can just push around if they want to and just clean them up. I think that was their biggest mistake, is they try to go for a crossfire, but they isolate themselves in the process. So Papa Rit's about to get taken down. He goes down. Tyson the Dog and Default are trading shots. 57 Heavy is going to go for the clip it in the bad shot. He hits the ammo rack. He's going to go for the last shot. Maybe we can hit the ammo rack again. He does not. Default's a one shot. 57 Heavy is on reload. So unfortunately, that's damage that LGN is not going to be able to deal. And now D-Boom goes in for the shot onto the mouse. And, you know, right here, Tyson is trying to use Kaiser as cover to reload. Tyson's just about reload. He's going to go for shots. However, he gets taken down. And now it's just Kaiser right here. And he's got, you know, some tanks on him. He's trying to deal as much damage as he can. He's not able to do it. D-Boom's trying to run away from the E4. He's able to get away just barely on the reload. And LGN does not look like they'll be able to take this one through. So it looks like UTA might just go for the cap. That's kind of the smart thing to do. It would definitely speed up the process here. And, you know, I'm not sure what the batch shots are going to do. They might just try to not throw silver away, I guess. You know, it is expensive. Looks like UTA is just going to go for a full cap. So I said that's very well played to UTA. They did a very nice job recognizing that they have an overmatch and just pushing. So that was very nicely done on their part. Looks like the Bat Chats might just try to sneak shots in. However, they have all their tanks clustered in the same corner, so they're pretty much sharing hit points pretty well. And you know, got the moderator things to do. So it looks like Tappington might go for a shot right here, and I'm sure it looks like someone's looking at him, and it looks like he's just going to push in, and he's going to get taken out really quick. He doesn't get the reset, and D-Boom's going to come in now and try to do it, but he's not going to have enough time. And that is the game. So UTA wins 3-2 to LGN. It is a shame that LGN had their 7th player quote-unquote disconnect. That's never fun when that happens. So, you know, like it's never something you want to happen if you can avoid it. So with that being said, guys, we're going to get into the game on the East Coast. So I'm going to switch over to that server, and we're going to, you know, get into that.